560-5589, 560-KKTX. It's good to see you after the bikers rally over the weekend.
Yeah, the rain kind of got to us, but it happened, and I don't think that numbers-wise the Bike Fest saw what they thought they were going to, but it was a good event. Jim McKibben and I did a ride.
You did?
You know Jim, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I this Saturday rode up to Blessings, Texas, ate at the Blessing Hotel.
Oh, yeah, the barbecue place.
Yeah, well, it's the home cooking.
Yeah.
The Blessing Hotel.
Yeah.
And so we met about 8:30. We got rained on a little bit. Met about 8:30 in the morning and rode up and had some lunch and rode back. Yeah, so it was a good time.
Story in the Caller Times this morning. After years of robbing Peter to pay Paul, Police Chief Floyd Simpson said the department is gaining 13 officers.
Yep.
They're going to talk about it again at council today.
Yeah, we'll have the second read, so it's on the consent agenda as it stands right now, and so it'll fly through, hopefully, with a bunch of other agenda items. We had the discussion last week. But, yeah, since 1997, we're going to add some officers, 11, and then 2 supervisors and some equipment that goes along with it. Now I have to manage expectations because if you think about 11 officers spread across 25 shifts, they disappear really, really fast. The beautiful thing is that we had the ability to raise our authorized strength from 449 to 499. So authorized an additional 50 officers, even though they're not funded right now, those additional 50. It starts the conversation for future growth. And
so 11 patrol officers and 2 lieutenants to act as shift supervisors.
Correct.
All right.
Yeah.
Let me get to Scott. Good morning. Welcome to Lago in the Morning.
Good morning. How are you doing today?
I'm great. Thank you for the call.
Yeah, I just want to make a quick comment, and it's always a hot button. And, that whole beating the dead horse until it turns to glue, but you can't expect a big turnout for the biker rally when you destroyed the roads that the bikers want to ride down. When we don't have the manpower to fix all the other roads, but we have the manpower to destroy shoreline inside of 5 minutes.
That's why we started the ride over on Packery Channel and rode across the causeway, and went to Ennis Jocelyn and then over to Shoreline.
Oh, no,
so we had we had a longer ride, but I think the bigger issue, other than the roads, was the threat of the rain.
Yeah, I heard you. I was sitting on my boat right under the bridge.
Did you? Okay.
Did you catch anything?
39-inch redfish that I threw back, but don't want to eat it when it's that big.
Wow.
Well, you got a picture of it, didn't you?
Absolutely. I have my size 13 foot right next to it.
Wow, good job.
All right, John, thanks. I appreciate it. Scott, I'm sorry. 560-5589, 560-KKTX. So the Corpus Christi Police Department was allocated $1.2 million from the Crime Control and Prevention District Fund to keep from spreading its resources thin. 11 new officers. So we get uniforms and cars?
Yeah, and we probably want to talk about that.
Coming up, News Radio 1360, KKTX 824. One of the issues at council today will be the funding of officers and the uniforms and cars. Yes. $1.2 million.
So back in 97, when Crime Control gave us the initial 50 officers, and of course this is kind of based on what I've come to determine because I wasn't here then, but there was a real effort not to include what they call administrative costs. They wanted it to be the 50 officers. Mm-hmm. Well, the problem that leaves us with still today is oftentimes you'll at the very times when you need experienced supervision, for example, Friday, Saturday nights, 9 o'clock at night to about 3 or 4 in the morning, we had no supervision out because we didn't have the requisite supervisors to go along with those additional 50. So if you look at span of control, you'll need probably 7 to 10 officers. Every time you add that, or you have that many officers, you're going to need at least one first line supervisor. And so now the conversations are around the total cost when you go to add officers, because you got to buy more uniforms, more weapons, more cars. You have to provide for supervision. And so when you say, here's 50 officers, you got to understand that there's a lot of other soft costs that go along with that. Thus, we're having the 11 plus the 2 plus the cars plus the uniforms and weapons. So it's a holistic look at the actual cost of gaining those or earning those officers.
Okay, so this money comes from the eighth of a cent sales tax.
Crime control, yes.
That was created in 97.
Correct.
And that's supposed to supplement the city budget.
Correct. So either way you look at it, it's tax dollars that we're going to expend, on our way to adding more officers. If you look at those numbers, somewhere around 1.2. I think you and I have talked about those numbers before. That's pretty low. And there's another way to account for the number of officers that you need, and that's based on what we call workload. And workload is, the time it takes to write a report, the time it takes to travel across a beat, the time it takes to process an arrestee. So we've got that figured out as well. But any way you slice it, the reality is we're going to have to grow the department. Certainly realizing the rest of the enterprise, as Susan Thorpe put it in the as she put it in the article, we've got to be aware of what's going on across the city with other things, and I get that.
Well, the thing that is not talked about is when the crime district was voted in 97, the eighth of a cent sales tax, our population, just the city's population, has increased almost 50,000.
Correct. And that's significant, not to mention the area's increase, because, that's just Corpus Christi numbers. But the area has grown, and a lot of people do business in our city that don't actually live here. And we find ourselves having to service those people as well.
Am I looking at something the wrong way, or every time I look at the sex offender, where they all live?
Yes.
It just seems like to me that we have a disproportional number of sex offenders. Is this an easy place for sex offenders to just sort of meld in with the public?
Yeah, and I'm not sure about that, but we do have more than our fair share of sex offenders that live within their city. I not endorsing any product. I signed up for that LifeLock, and every time a sex offender moves into my area, I get an email, and I get emails quite often.
Yeah.
So, we have more than a few around this time every year. We monitor them all the time, but particularly around Halloween, the police department does a good accounting of where they are, and we
can't have their porch lights on.
Yes, we deal with them in the manner that we're allowed to.
Why don't they have signs in their yards anymore?
Yeah, I think you had mentioned that before, where judges have kind of mandated that to happen. Certainly, me as a police chief can't do that, but it helps. So, well, be a good question for somebody else.
560-5589, 560 KKTX. There's a DPS blurb last night. Texas Department of Public Safety increased the reward to $8,000 for the capture of a wanted sex offender who did prison time for the attempted stabbing of a Corpus Christi police officer. The department is offering $8,000 for the capture of Robert Chrismon. His criminal history includes aggravated rape, aggravated assault, kidnapping, and escape.
All around good guy.
So, does he escape? Explain why we're looking for him again? Because I thought after rape or kidnapping, you didn't have too much free time on your hands.
Yeah.
News Radio 1360 KKTX 836. Corpus Christi Police Chief Floyd Simpson on his regular weekly visit. We're talking about the the crime control,
yes.
Paying for the new officers. Mm-hmm. And since domestic violence has been so in the headlines, mm-hmm. and we are, as a community, trying, I guess, there was a march over the weekend. I try, but I don't put much faith in this because I've seen these marches to stop violence. Mm-hmm. And the people that need to hear this have a habit of ignoring it. And while we're speaking about predators, I'm not saying that NFL players who abuse women isn't of national concern. What they did is inexcusable. But domestic violence among NFL players is not an epidemic by a long shot. But when it comes to our city, our community, spousal abuse is absolutely reaching epidemic proportions. There is no excuse for men to assault women. None. The problems and where that starts, I don't know. I don't know how you get to a point where you get so angry mm-hmm. at someone you love mm-hmm. that you're going to take your anger out on them. And it is brutal.
Yeah. And I think a lot of it from our perspective is generational. The first thing. Secondly, it's a power play. Whether it's men or women, because sometimes we get women that abuse men, believe it or not. It's a power play as one particular spouse is exercising authority or power over the other. And that particular spouse has come to, expect and live in the way that they live. And then they start internalizing, believing that it's their fault. And so what we are attempting to do in the police department is bring awareness. I think you and I talked off the mic that, if I look at my homicides, 80% of those homicides are people who are known to one another. And then when we dive deeper, a lot of that is family violence. Mm-hmm. And so, it is epidemic in our society, and it's fueled by alcoholism and drug usage. And, we've got to get the message out that if these certain conditions exist in your household, then there's a great chance that you're going to become a victim. And so we're exploring ways that, when we respond, and we do hourly respond to family violence calls, domestic disturbances, that's the call that we go to most often. And it's probably one of the most dangerous calls that a police officer will go to, because, they'll get there and they're seemingly helping, and, they get turned on. And that happens more than, I care to talk about. But we've got to educate people and then provide a way for abused people to get out of situations. And it's the same sort of thing that you and I talk about with alcoholism. People have to make choices to get out of those situations.
I did ride along with, and I've talked about this before, but the lady actually, both her eyes were shut, mm-hmm. or getting that way, and her mouth was all puffed up, and she was bleeding.
Sure.
And the officers that were at the scene, because he had her down on the ground and was pummeling her. They get out of the car and they run over and they drag this guy off of him.
Yeah.
And they're saying, police, stop, police, stop. She gets up and she is on the lieutenant's back.
Sure.
And I just thought, holy mackerel.
Yep.
You just got saved and now you're going to attack the guy that saves you. It's just incredible. Lorenzo, good morning. Welcome to Lago in the Morning.
How you doing, Lago? Good morning, Chief.
Good morning, sir.
I have a question for the Chief, and then I have a question for you, Lago, if I can.
All right.
Yes, sir.
Chief, my wife was down at the movies this last 2 weekends ago.
Yes.
And she just got a car. And she usually parks way in the boonies out there so nobody would get close to her or whatever. And, ding her car or whatever. That day, I don't know what, there was, I guess, some movie that was pretty popular, but they parked all the way up in the grass.
Mm-hmm.
And anyway, when my wife came out, she found that somebody had sideswiped the front fender on her car. Now, she looked around, she saw that there was a note on the windshield, but that day it had been raining. So all it was just pieces. My question is, somebody hits your car like that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, how does them not sticking around to accept responsibility? How is that right?
Can he ask the movie theater, because they have cameras all over the place? Can he ask for and give them the time and the date? Is he allowed to see that footage?
Well, I mean, we can't make the movie theater turn that over, but they're very cooperative. And if you go and just ask if they have any footage of that could.
I did. They say they have coverage inside, but not outside.
Okay. So the requirement seems like it was met whereby the person attempted to leave you a note. And I guess what you said was the weather kind of beat it up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So basically the person who caused the damage was attempting, I would imagine, to leave a contact phone number.
Okay.
And, that's
all you can do.
Yeah. That's kind of a satisfying kind of the requirement. And it seems that they were attempting to do the right thing. Just an unfortunate thing, sir.
Okay. Now, where do I get $500 from to get the car fixed?
Yeah, that I can't answer.
That's,
but I feel your pain.
That's
I feel your pain.
Yes,
that's
sir.
what you think.
Yeah.
Okay, Lago.
Hey.
My question to you is: this morning, the gentleman that called you asking you about Abbott.
Mm-hmm.
Did you see the debate down in the valley?
No, I didn't.
You didn't see it?
No.
So that's probably why you didn't know about it.
Okay.
Yeah, that debate, they were talking about what he was talking about.
All right, I'll look at it.
Okay, sir.
All right, thanks. 560-5589, 560-KKTX. So we're marching to bring attention to spousal abuse.
Yes.
I think it would do more good if the people that are really concerned about this, and you want to make you want to have a lasting impression of how serious it is, go on a ride along on the weekend, any Friday night, Saturday night, or a holiday. And I'll tell you something that is really sad. With all the peace on earth, goodwill toward everybody, the Christmas holidays, holy mackerel, there are people just beating the snot out of each other, and it's usually husbands on wives.
Yeah, it becomes more prevalent, if you can believe it, during the holiday season. It's happy times for.
It's hard to believe.
Yes, it's happy times for a lot of people, but there's sadness around holidays for several others, and so we have to deal with that. We've got a really good community here that deals with domestic violence in our women's shelters.
Yeah, we do.
It's just not enough.
We got to get them in there,
yes.
But
here's what we're doing.
And you've got a special arm of the police department, spousal abuse.
Yeah, we have a family violence unit.
That's it.
Yes, and so what we're trying to do is I've been proposing, but I can't get commitment just based on resources. Is that on the East Coast they've developed a list of questions that our first line responders will ask people who are victims, and if these questions and if they're answered in the affirmative, then we inject them immediately into some social services, and that seems to be working. But we've got to get 24-hour resources from our community in order to get that done.
All right, more on that coming up. And Robin, hold on. I'm coming your way right after this. News Radio 1360 KKTX. Chief Floyd Simpson in the box. Did you say you had a story?
Yeah, it was a pretty cool story. I think you had mentioned whether or not our discussions about ride-alongs, when we talk about them, if it increased. And I said, absolutely, it has. And one of the examples I gave was kind of listeners. I'm coming in this morning. I'm on Saratoga at Everhart. A very nice morning. So instead of the AC, I've got the windows down. And apparently a couple guys had the same idea. So we're 3 across on Saratoga, and we're all 3 listening to you guys this morning. So I'm hearing you and Lillian in stereo. So I thought that was pretty cool. So I wanted to make sure I told you that. People are listening.
I appreciate that very much. Thank you, Chief. Robin, good morning. Welcome to Lago in the Morning.
Morning, Jim. Morning, Chief.
Good morning, sir.
This really has nothing to do with your official duties, but you're available, and so I'm asking it of you.
Okay.
I apologize if it's an irritant. A charity came to our church.
Mm-hmm.
Called New Life Refuge Ministries. They're trying to build, I guess, a halfway house to address the human trafficking concern.
Yes.
And they made a presentation to us, and they claimed that they had made a presentation to the city as well. And they did mention, they dropped your name.
Is this the dollar thing?
Yeah.
Is this the give the dollar?
Yeah, it's a dynamic dollars kind of thing they're going for.
Yeah, I think I've given several dynamic dollars, and I do know of that effort.
Okay, well, my question is, has the city vetted the charity, or does the city vet such charity? I'm trying to find out if this charity is worth supporting before I make a recommendation to my church.
So the direct answer is no, because the city has not, to my knowledge, adopted kind of this as a charity. And so, if you're going to think about supporting that, then would ask you to vet for yourself.
I have Googled them, Jim.
And you sound disappointed.
No, I'm not disappointed with the charity. I'm disappointed with my endeavors to vet. It's very difficult to vet a charity because most of the stuff you find on that charity is so praising. You never find out a charity is corrupt until after they get caught.
Exactly. Now, there are websites that keep up with this. All right. This is the way I found out about a couple of charities that I have donated to, and I gave them my credit card number, and I'm really pissed off. But it's Google bad charities or charity ratings. Do that. It'll take you to. There are 2 websites that are really good. And what you are going to find on there is going to make your heart sink. Because yes.
Yeah,
now,
and
I would imagine about this on the air.
I would imagine too the IRS.
Let me just state, because we talked about this on the air, I have no indication that this is not a legitimate charity.
Right.
I'm simply trying to check it out. I just don't want anyone to taint a good people story.
All right. Thanks, Robin.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
I only have about a minute and a half left. Let me get back to the domestic violence situation.
Yes.
Last week, there was a woman killed in King's Crossing. So this crosses all neighborhood boundaries. the chief said the resounding number of these, one thing they have in common is alcohol or drug abuse. The other thing is the woman usually has a temporary restraining order.
Yeah. Yeah, and unfortunately, I think sometimes those give this false sense of security whereby, hey, I've got a restraining order, I'm going to be okay. My response to that is your personal safety is absolutely your responsibility, and it's going to take time for officers to get out to enforce that restraining order.
All right, I guess we'll start the conversation with this next week.
Yeah.
All right?
Yeah, good conversation.
I appreciate you being here.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Chief. Let's be safe out there.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Have yourself a Bluebell Country Day.